Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 25th, 2023 at approximately 4:25 p.m. PST. Now, I return to this world at this point in time for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same ones I personally use, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. This is not a question of, oh, you should do this because it works, and I'm going to go do this other thing. Sadly, I see way too many so-called spiritual guides or leaders do literally that. Now, before I get into things, we have, that is the next question. Who do we have? We have Adam in with the gold. Kimberly, welcome aboard. You come in with the silver. And then we have Eternity coming in with the bronze. And I thought we had somebody else. And apparently not. So that's okay. Hope you guys are doing well. Forgot to get something sorted out here. Well, that's just terrible. There we go. Now, the way I figure it, we've talked about a lot of different things, and I figured, hey, Joe. Oh, whoa. Nightmare got in just barely ahead of you by the look of it. Nightmare gets in here with honorable mention. How you doing there, Joe? Mr. L, glad you could join us. I figure it's time to really take a look at things and start things moving forward. Okay. As far as how do we go about physically manifesting, physically creating exactly the world we're aiming for? Well, it's not done by just thinking about it. And like I was just talking to my other half, actually. I said, let's put this in perspective. If you think about making a sandwich, you really desire to have a sandwich. You got two people. One is sitting there going, I'm going to think about having the best sandwich I can possibly have. Or let's do it the simple way. I'm going to think about having a peanut butter and jam sandwich. One person sits there and thinks about it. The other one thinks about it and goes, I'm going to get up and grab the bread, the peanut butter, the jam, put it all together and have a sandwich. Both are physical matter, are part of the step of physical manifestation. But which one do you think is going to actually have a more enjoyable outcome? This is why I say yes. Physical manifestation does start with the interest, with the interaction. Okay, but the reality of it is, if you do not actually do the physical work for it, you're in serious trouble. You're not going to have, in all likelihood, the outcome you're hoping for. Okay, I'd love to say it was going to be different, but that is not the way reality works. Now, hopefully you all have at least one goal in mind. Okay, where you are turning around and starting to at least work towards it. Now, I got a whole pile of different goals on the go at the same time. When I get done this particular stream, this information here, this is all written, this is all hard copy for the books. Okay. And there are 5 pages of it that I just wrote today. What do we got here? I'll have to work that out there, YJ. But I mean, if you think about it, copper is frankly one of the more useful, considering it is a great energy conduit. Okay, fabulous for building things, not the least of which, like you can build all sorts of things, not the least of which is a still. Then, hey Terry, how you doing? Ultimately, the answer to that, Terry. Okay, and I don't know if this was a question. Terry's just said Keith knows how to use black magic to manifest anything he wants. Knowing how to and doing it are two very different things. Black magic, inherently, people look at black magic as an evil action. Whereas if you look at it from the standpoint I look at it from, it boils down to using the unknown or the forgotten methods. Okay, now, to give you the short answer to that statement is, yeah, frankly, I do. Okay, now, of course, I've got my own holdups. Because I never looked, the reality is, because I've never looked at money as a priority, and in all honesty, I probably should have put more effort into it. Okay. I'm not sure how that... Oh, bingo. I haven't seen you in here before. That's why I don't recognize you. Welcome aboard there, PB. I haven't seen you in the room before. But now that doesn't mean you haven't been here. Oh, well, if you're asking literally, Joe's just going, what causes stuttering when you talk? What usually causes it, in most people's case, in all fairness, is their brain is working faster than their mouth can. Okay, in my case, that's very much the situation. Okay, I know that I've known people where they literally had to slow down their thinking in order to be able to communicate at all. But that's what it boils down to. Your brain gets ahead of your mouth. See, mine usually does, and they usually call that hoof and mouth disease. You do realize, YJ, trying to melt wood down so it's drinkable is going to be a royal pain in the neck. But that's a whole different ballgame. But no, what it boils down to is, when you take a look at whatever it is you're aiming at building, okay, whatever you're looking at manifesting, you've got to do the physical work for it. Now, I absolutely encourage you to talk to somebody that has done it successfully. Okay. Now, if you think about procrastination, I put that off for years. I gave up worrying about it and just quit doing things, which is probably the wrong way of looking at it, but what the heck, it worked. Yes, I'm trying to move around. Oh, look at that. I require that. Do not require that. I don't sit still very well, in case you guys hadn't noticed. Although I did learn from my mistake, do not make the mistake of stepping up on a stool too often. If your leg won't handle it, it's a really bad idea to do it. Don't need white. I'm looking for flesh. Oh, where did my flesh tone go? There it is. Again, okay. And this is what I mean by physical manifestation. Where are we here? Actually, I would really strongly recommend you don't blow yourself up. I was at a party years ago, at a staff party, and the guy brought mountain moonshine. Now, if you know anything about mountain moonshine, you'll understand where this went wrong. Okay, so he brings with him to the party a full quart of homebrew. Okay, now the mistake he made was not bringing the alcohol. Bringing it was fine. Yep. Yeah, the other term for that, Joe, some people call it tripping over your words. Some people call it throat mumble. I grew up calling it throat mumble. But it really boils down to the same thing. Your brain works too fast. But no, this chap, he brings a quart of mountain moonshine with him. Now, this is the guy that brewed it. Okay. Puts it on the picnic table, and then he cracked it open. Now, where things went wrong was he was also a smoker. Now, you can see what happened there if you know anything about mountain moonshine and the fumes that come off it. So He's standing there over this quart, cracks the bottle of it, and cracks the lid, pulls it out of the way. His cigarette still in his mouth. Just like that, he had no eyebrows. So I mean, from that standpoint, it worked out really, really nicely. I had a buddy that stuttered so badly. What he would end up having to do, is this guy stuttered really, really badly, and all he said was, "Look, do not finish my sentences. At best, remind me to slow down my thinking and speaking." He said that will be far more advantageous. Now, here's manifestation at its simplest. I've got a figure here. Obviously, if you know anything about them, that's an Eton. Now, as you can see, his legs are already flesh tone. Now, I can think about turning his body flesh tone, or I can do this really bizarre thing and take the flesh tone paint and the flesh tone and the figure and turn around and do something really bizarre and actually put the paint on the figure. Now, this is what I am referring to about one step at a time. You turn around and go, this is what I desire to have happen. Physical manifestation boils down to focusing on what you're aiming at. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, focusing on one thing is something I figured out a long time ago I don't do well. I can certainly focus, but the reality behind it is I don't focus on only one thing at a time. Primarily because my brain doesn't work that way. And no, for those of you that think it's possible to actually get it to do so, doctors actually came to the conclusion that it was physically not possible. I appreciate that little piece of insight. Prohibition has never, the restrictive laws. Like if you take a look at the hemp industry, that wasn't about hemp being a bad plant. It was about the cotton industry desiring to keep their hold on the whole setup. That's where it went sour. The idea of releasing the slaves was not an issue of being really a humanitarian thing. It was more an issue of they were running out of people to put in front of guns. So they figured by actually turning the slavery loose, problem would solve. And yeah, that's going to tick somebody off. And I'd apologize for saying things that actually upset people, but that would indicate that I was actually going to make an effort not to. And I made that effort before. 2018 was a really wonderful year for me. Bottled everything, didn't say anything about what I was thinking. And I had a really wonderful experience by having a pretty severe stroke. I'm not doing that for anybody again. Or for that matter, because of anybody. But where it comes to physical manifestation, now I'm going to put it to you this way. I'm going to see if I can actually get an idea here while I'm puttering around. Now, I know you guys all have little projects you're working on. Okay, but do any of you have, do any of you have a goal that you're looking to get, that you really would like to get started, but you've run into a snag in figuring out where to begin? Because that's what this boils down to, is figuring out how to get that first step moving. And so I'm quite willing to look at that. Because ultimately it boils down to, you desire something to happen, you're going to be the one making it happen. I can tell people what is necessary. I can tell you how to go about making it. What I cannot do is make it happen for you. Now, it's funny. I like the one t-shirt I saw one day. And the t-shirt said, I can explain it to you, but I cannot understand it for you. Okay? So this is why I say if something is not making sense, if it's not adding up for you, come right out and ask. Because somebody else listening in or somebody else in the chat room will have the same question. That is just a part of reality. Yes, we are all individuals, but certain questions come hand in hand with just standard life. Now, you'll notice I said I desired to actually have him start to change color. It hasn't been happening. Now, I took my glass off. I can't see. Neat part about it, when I mentioned that this is all interrelated, it's all interconnected, and it really is. This particular figure that I'm using actually is used, literally this particular figure is being used in Return to Paradise for one of the combat scenes that are written in there in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. And yes, I have not forgotten Sunday after my game. Okay, I will be coming in Sunday after my game, and when I will be on air for something, I don't know yet which, but I will figure that out before I get done here today. Sunday being tomorrow, and then after we get done that stream, I will come back on with the next step in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Okay, because it boils down to I've got goals, I've got things I desire to get accomplished, and they're not happening by not doing them, by not putting the effort in. See, doing this particular figure at this time actually gives me something to keep my brain occupied, the other half of my brain, while I try and stay focused. Good luck with that. Quite honestly, it doesn't actually happen that often. That I stay focused, I mean. YJ's just going, as a high functioning autistic, I appreciate anyone who just says exactly what they mean and means exactly what they say. It baffles my mind how everyone isn't like that, actually. A lot of the reason they aren't is because of the fact that mankind, and I'm talking every society that I've come across, does exactly the same thing. They have convinced themselves that you have to be politically correct. I can't say that because it's going to upset somebody. Okay, well, I will tell you this. Doesn't matter what you're striving to say, it's going to upset somebody. Okay, that's just the sad reality of it. Somebody will get upset by it. As a matter of fact, I'm more concerned when people don't get upset by it. And no, that isn't to say I say things to tick people off. Just kind of works out that way. Okay, but when we're looking at reality, okay, when you're looking at the way your world is working, take a look at what you're doing to actually accelerate its connection. Are you getting things done? Like I was looking at, like people have asked me about the different figures I'm working on. Okay, I got a whole bunch of these. These are Angelus, but you'll notice they've got black wings. Well, that's because they are the warrior class. Okay, and they're born into it. What do we got here? On the subject of making your own moonshine, legendary moonshine. This is by Joe, by the way. Legendary moonshiner, Popcorn Sutton on YouTube. He has 3 videos for anyone in chat interested in making their own moonshine. And if I had the drive and the focus to do it, or the drinking capacity I used to, it'd probably be something I looked at. For me personally, I'm just not that interested in it. It used to be I could kill off a 26er without even blinking. Okay. Oh, YJ, I missed that, YJ. Sure, we talk about moonshine. Everybody on the planet is starting to make moonshine. This is great. No, there was a time when drinking whatever was available was actually a normal thing for me. Except one guy that we had that was a regular customer at at the restaurant I was working at. We called him the Aquavelva Man because he would literally go into the store and he'd buy up bottles of Aquavelva and drink those to get drunk. Now I'm telling you, at least he had good smelling breath. But I'm telling you, that's not the way to get drunk. Way too many extra things can go wrong. You know, I mean, I know they say everything in moderation, but what I get a kick out of is that people take it to extremes on occasion. You know, yeah, everything in moderation. So how about if we do that? We'll just drink this thing because that's a good idea. And I'm telling you, most of the time it really isn't. You know, but no, where it comes to manifestation, you start with one thing. It all of it starts up in the etheric level. Okay, up in the spirit world. Then it comes down, either you'll get a feeling in your heart or you'll get a thought in your head that says, this is something I desire to accomplish. This is something missing in my life. Okay, now quite often at the start of it, your heart and your mind are probably going to be in conflict. Okay, and I asked one of my mentors, I said, what do you do when that happens? And he goes, that's the easy part. And I said, how do you decide whether to follow your heart or follow your head? And he looks at me and goes, good question. He says, there's no real functional question, but it is a good one. He goes, when your heart and your head are in conflict, follow your heart, but use your head to get there. And this also means if you've got your heart set on a partner, on a potential partner, follow your heart, make the approach. But if they turn you down, take that as no means no, yes means yes, and not yet means give me a little time. Okay, but so many people have been taught that no means yes, it just means push a little harder. Okay, and it couldn't be much further from reality, at least not as far as I've come to understand. You know, and this is something that as a society we have to realize. If you desire to get something accomplished, you're the one that's going to have to do it. Okay. Now again, you know, I always turn back to this issue of, you know, of people going, you know, I really, you know, I'm following this spiritual guy and he says I should do this. I got a message from somebody this morning and they claimed that they were of, you know, of a positive nature. They're of this group that's working for the alliance with off-worlders. But the off-worlders are absolutely preparing for an attack. So we must defend ourselves. I'm telling you, you can defend yourself all you want. Okay. The main gun on the Galactic Consortium's ship, on their flagship, the barrel on it is big enough. You could take the Titanic, you know, that legendary luxury ship from 1912. You could take that legendary ship, turn it broadside, stuff it inside the barrel, and still have room to maneuver. Now, can you picture anything on Earth being able to even slow that thing down? Okay. Now, this said, you desire your world to change. It's time to get off your tail feathers and make it happen. That makes total sense there, Adam. Okay. Curiosity. I'm still looking for the book that I know I've got around here someplace. But welcome to my world. It got moved somewhere and I don't know where. You know, depending on which crystals you got a hold of, there's lots of ways of cleansing them. Presumably you're following one of the methods that has been described by people, unless you know exactly how to do it yourself. But again, you desire to get into crystals. Okay, so what did you do? You looked into them, picked up a couple, and picked a few out, and then went and bought them. That is physical manifestation at its finest. Okay, that's an issue of deciding you desire something and then going out of your way, making the effort to actually make it happen. Okay, and frankly, way too many people are caught up in the idea of it's a thought that counts. Just think about it, it'll happen. Just think about it, it'll happen is not a good idea. Excellent move there, Adam. Excellent move there. That'll work quite nicely. Okay. Now, we used to have a weather rock that you could buy back in the 70s. And all you did, it was an offshoot of the pet rock. And all you had to do was you took this weather rock, you put it in a net of some form. Not the least of which, one of the easiest ones obviously would be a onion net. Right. Hanging outside. Right? If it's warm to the touch, it's sunny out. If it's covered in white, it's snowing. If the thing is wet, it's raining. If it's swaying back and forth, it's windy. Of course, if it's a big weather rock and it's swaying back and forth, you might be in the middle of a hurricane. Okay. If you can't see it hanging outside without the light on, it's nighttime. This is what they call the weather rock. And the really silly part about it, okay, is it's sold like wildfire at like $5 or $10 a rock. Now talk about killing your overhead. Let's face it, you walk outside, you buy a rock and you call it a weather rock, and all of a sudden there you go. It was an interesting attempt at extending the life of the pet rock. Now, I just noticed something there. Where are we? Adam goes, I've got clear quartz, citrine, rainbow fluorite, some amethyst, and some others. Now, the only one I don't know exactly what it's for. Like I said, I've misplaced my book, and crystals is not my primary focus. Now there's only one way that would make you a terrible person, Joe. First of all, okay. Now the way you wrote that does bring an odd question to mind. But what Joe has written is, I'm not going to church tomorrow with my family to get my ashes. Am I a terrible person for doing that? The answer is unequivocally no. The question is, how are you going to go and get your ashes? Okay, I'm seeing a bit of a missing piece of information here. Okay, because normally, if somebody's ashes are there, they're already deceased. Which does beg the question as to whether or not you're actually breathing right now. Which I got no problem. I got dead people all over my house, so having dead ones listening doesn't bother me. But it does leave that question open for interpretation. But no, Joe. Anyway, I want to add this up. Not going to church does not make you a terrible person. It becomes questionable if you start, and I know you won't do this. This is just not your personality. Okay, it becomes a bit of a terrible person if you're ridiculing other people because they are going. Okay, and that applies to the people that are going, ridiculing somebody that isn't going. Citrine also has one other little benefit. Okay, citrine, YJ, citrine has the other bonus of it draws finances. Okay, it does enhance finances, much like malachite does. Okay, but, and of course, I don't know if you read this, but clear quartz crystal is an amplifier, absolutely. Okay, something I found is if you put clear quartz right near your computer, you may end up burning your computer out. Just a caution. Okay, and I know that happens because I did it to myself one day. Okay. And when you're looking at amethyst, if you can get a hold of shamrock amethyst or a chevron amethyst, it's even stronger at opening that third eye. But these are all little bits and pieces of things that you can do to enhance your own abilities. When you've got, take either the citrine or the malachite and pop it into wherever you keep your petty cash. Except right now, well, citrine's got a pretty fair amount of quartz in it to start with, or vice versa. Hey Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You're on the road an awful lot, I'm hoping you're driving and not just sitting there in the middle of the road, although that would be entertaining to find out about. I look at it going, there's all sorts of things you can do. But no. One of the things that you have to realize where it comes to manifestation is it takes effort. Now, I heard this following piece from a chap I'm sure some of you know. Ever hear of a guy by the name of Gene Simmons, as in the lead singer from Kiss? Okay, he had a brilliant way of putting it. Oh, nice. You guys should do well, financially speaking. Now, did I put it in here or still missing a piece from there? Keep that up, I'm going to fall off the chair. See, this is where I keep my petty cash. It's kind of convenient, really. But I'm going to hurt myself doing that. See, you get to watch me actually do something here where I get to hurt myself again. But that's my citrine in the box. I also have my malachite. Okay, now I'll tell you, if anybody out there finds a place where you can get a 3-sided pyramid, it would be really appreciated if somebody could tell me where they found it. Okay, most pyramids are 4-sided. I'm looking for a 3. Okay, same as most double terminates like this one. Okay, you'll notice and I don't know if you can see that well, but most double terminates have 6 sides. I'm looking for a natural growing 7-pointed one. They're more powerful. Far, far, far more powerful. But harder than all and then I'll get them to get a hold of. But this is why I say when we are talking about physical manifestation, this is not something that just happens of its own accord. It is something that you literally decide you're having it happen because this is something you desire. So absolutely do what you can with it. Well, that was wrong. My paint just spat at me. When you've got something you desire to have happen, okay, quite frankly, it boils down to getting the idea on paper in point form, essentially. Take a sheet of paper. If you desire to own a house, okay, take a sheet of paper, simply draw a rectangle or a square on it, and go, I own my own home. Plunk. That rectangle gives you the basic view that you're looking for. You don't have to be an artist to make this work. Okay, then you look at that picture and you go, that's my goal. So what am I going to do to make that happen? How am I going to bring that about in reality? Well, in reality, the way you do that is break it down into smaller points, into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. By going that route, you will be able to open a lot more doors. Okay, and make things happen at a much higher rate of attainment. but it boils down to believing that it's possible. Okay, because I will tell you this. Whether you believe something is possible or you believe it isn't, in either event, you're likely to prove yourself correct. And I'm going to go backwards here just a little here. When Joe asked you, he was a bad, if he was doing something seriously wrong. Okay, church is a good place to go for emotional, spiritual, social support. Absolutely, it is. If you find a church or a temple or a coven or whatever that encourages you to be open-hearted. If you're going someplace and they encourage you to be fearful of everything around you, to look down on people that don't believe exactly as you do, okay, you may be going to the wrong group of people. That would be appreciated, YJ. Hey, Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is, when we take a look at this world, is there anything, curiosity from anybody in the chat room? I'd love to see anybody out there in radio or video land myself, but you might have an idea, but sad to say I'm not that controlled of a telepath. But is there anything you guys feel may not be able to be accommodated by manifestation? Okay, because I'd like to derail that in a hurry. If it's any consolation, Shadow, I was nearly napping this afternoon, right before coming on the air here. So I told my other half, I will get this stream done, and then I'll probably go and grab a nap a little later. Of course, I sort of have to look at it going, if I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep whether I really choose to or not. Because my body just says, no, we've had enough, we're sleeping. But it really comes down to this issue. Get too close to a figure and you can't see where the dang. Oh, wait a minute, that's not where we were supposed to be going. But no, I'm looking at it going, you'll notice I'm working on a number of different figures all at the same time. This boils down to physical manifestation. I desire these figures to get painted. Now, do you really think they're going to paint themselves? And if you do, you might want to send some of those drugs this way. Because I will tell you, much as I would love that to happen on occasion, and I used to have the capacity to do that. Okay, many people at that time did. But we have this fine little complication that most people don't realize. When you're thinking about manifesting something, you got to remember, if it goes against the norm, you're now not only fighting your own ability to believe, but you're up against everybody else's. Okay, that's where you run into an interesting snag. It is not, when I said that physical manifestation is a battle of wills, it's not just against yourself. You're up against everybody that has any kind of insight, any kind of belief of any sort. Because the massive majority of people believe wholeheartedly you can't fly without a plane. And I'm telling you, I know of one person that jumped out of a plane and without it, they jumped out with the parachute, but both it and the security one, the safety one, both buckled. Okay. Now, I'll tell you, it was really a shock to them because they figured from 10,000 feet they were toast. As it turned out, they lived through it. So it does happen. But, I'm 59 years old. I grew up on an air base where we had regular skydiving. That is the only one I've ever heard of where somebody pulled it off. So I'm strongly recommending you don't push limits and try that. Okay, because the odds are it's not going to work as well for you as you'd like. This is another one of the characters I'm working on. This is actually for one of my crew. one of the gaming crew I'm working with. So what I'm looking at here, when you talk about physical manifestation, think about what you desire to accomplish, what you desire to co-create. Okay, very important that you actually look at that. And yes, I did say co-create, because I will tell you this: physical manifestation, although it can be done on your own, quite often requires more effort than one person has. Somebody wrote something there and I got to look at it. Usually, yeah, that's exactly the problem there, LA. By the way, welcome aboard. Glad you can make it. That is, yeah, what do we got here? Okay. I'm just going back through a few things I missed. Shadows asked, how about sensing someone you haven't seen for a long time? I had an event like that. I ran into that problem at the fair one day. It was absolutely funnier than heck, really. But yes, you absolutely can sense people coming back in. Okay. And again, guys, just to make sure I don't miss these. If you've got a question that you really desire me to catch, absolutely, please put it in all caps. Makes it so much easier for me to find it. And why, pray tell, is that up there? I don't like that up there because it's annoying. I got a pop-up that showed up in my window that I just didn't require. Okay, where are we here? Oh, not a problem there, Shadow. Yeah, when you run into somebody you haven't seen for a long time, there's a lot of different emotions that can go with it. Okay, but everything that happens in the here and now. Okay, and one of the things you got to remember: family is not necessarily bloodline. Family is the people you choose to have around you. And this is something that we are quite often told is the problem. Blood is thicker than water. Well, I will not argue that point. I will tell you wholeheartedly, blood is thicker than water. But when it comes to actually dealing with things, okay, you got to remember that it boils down to what you're willing to work with. Okay, you certainly do not have to be the one that has all the information or all of the insight. Although, in all fairness, it can be fun that way. But no, we are looking at a situation here where every one of you has goals, has dreams. But how many of you have started picking up the pieces and going, I'm making this happen because it's what I desire? Okay, now I use these figures I'm painting for choreography. What do we got? Shadow's asking, how about manifesting to see someone you wish to see? That's the easy part. Okay, when you desire to manifest somebody you haven't seen for a long time, you'd like them to get back in touch with you, regardless of where they are on the planet. Okay, two things that you've got to keep in mind. Okay, and way too many people do this. I get asked regularly, when is my ex going to contact me? I really want him to. I'll go, well, did you block, did you unblock his email or contacts? Is there a way for him to get a hold of you? Well, no, I blocked them all out, but I want to know when he's contacting me. I'm sitting there going, he won't. You've cut off any option. When you desire somebody to get back in touch with you that you haven't seen in a long time, make certain that you leave all viable options open for them to find you. Okay. Oh, I'll come back to that in just half a sec, Joe. You literally in your mind's eye, okay, get a picture of that person in your mind. Now, if you've got a photograph and you can look at it to do the same thing, it will make it that much easier to put the image together. Once you start that image up, you literally sense them either you think about them calling you, so you imagine in your own head them phoning you, the phone ringing and hearing their voice on the end of it. This is the way of sending that message out on the etheric plane to get out to the person you desire to contact you. Okay, but you've got to make sure they've got a way of contacting. That's one of the biggest things and one of the easiest ways to do it. Okay, you've got to, number one, absolutely have the intent that is going to happen, but also you've got to have that door open so it can happen. Because if you don't have that door open, I'm telling you, they're going to have a heck of a time contacting you. Whether they want to or not is completely irrelevant if you've blocked all numbers, which I know sounds like common sense. Now, let me ask you this, YJ. Like, YJ's just brought up a very clear point. He goes, my family were terrible to me throughout my life. I was the scapegoat, the black sheep of the family. Only recently have I found myself actually not wanting their acceptance. Talk about liberating. Well, you may find it more effective. I mean, that is liberating, absolutely. I used to have my family on pedestals. I've recently gone, they're really not. Okay. The trick is you're becoming more comfortable with you, where you're not requiring their acceptance. And I'll tell you, that is absolutely extremely liberating. When you get to the point where you can hold that in your heart, that's when you know you finally made the right steps for you. Now, yes, it may upset some of the people. It absolutely might. But that would be their problem, not yours. Don't forget, most of the reason that people treat each other poorly is because of the fact that that person scares the daylights out of them. The real question that you have that would be wise to look at there, YJ, is, do you see yourself as a black sheep, as a worse person? Now, Joe is just saying he's basically you're getting your ashes at church. It's where you go to the altar at church, and on that day, and the priest blesses your forehead and makes the sign of the cross with black holy ink. I appreciate the clarification. Okay. Yeah, and does that make you a bad person? Absolutely not. And this is where I get into trouble. Okay. So I'm going to apologize to anybody out there that happens to be listening that is a staunch Roman Catholic and you're stuck in your ways, or staunch any religion. I'm telling you, the person that has to forgive you for your sins, there's two types of people. Okay. You yourself make certain that whatever you were doing that was making you feel off kilter, make certain you're making every functional effort to not do that anymore. Okay. And the only other one that can do it happens to be your creator themselves, not not a priest. A priest has the thing priests have over and above the common parishioners is a belief that they have a connection with their creator. Now, I'm telling you, Joe, the way I've seen you interact, I will tell you, you've got more of a connection with your own creator than many people I've run into. And that, by the way, is a really good thing. That in and of itself is a really good thing. I just had this guy ruin his maze. Oh, well. When you've got the kind of faith in yourself and the kind of open-heartedness that you treat other people with, there is no way, okay, Well, yeah, but and you are right, Adam. Your God does know whether you go to church or not. But here's the other thing. I presume there, Adam, that you are either Catholic or Protestant, but you're Christian in either event. And here's something you might want to consider. Well, that didn't work, right? Something you might want to consider is if you're one of those religions, okay, it also tells you in the Bible that, it also tells you, and I'm paraphrasing, and don't ask me what passage it was, but somewhere in there, it tells you, and the church raised its hands unto the heavens above, and the church raised its voice unto the host in heaven. Have you ever even heard tell of a building that could actually do that? The church that is being referred to in the Bible is not a physical church. It is the person. The good news there, Adam, a baptism that is done when you're a child and not when you're an adult is a dedication. It's not a baptism. Okay, because for a baptism to work, and do understand this really is my belief structure more than anything else, but it comes from a very long time ago. The thing with it is this: the church is simple. Do you ever have the time to talk about your creator with somebody else that believes in the same line of thinking? Okay. Yeah. Something you'll find there, Joe, is when you're writing down your dreams, start with the easy part. If you remember you were running, if that's the first thing that comes to mind, or you remember you were flying, or you remember talking to someone and you haven't pieced it together, write down, I was talking to someone about whatever. Okay. Put it in point form. That will get it locked in so you can go back and piece it together a little bit more. Okay. I am not surprised by that statement in the slightest there, Shadow. The funny thing is, when you talk about it, and this is why I was asking you guys the other day, okay, finding someone that you can get support with. I mean, in your case, Shadow, I've never talked to your son, but I've certainly listened to his input I've certainly listened to some of the things he says on your YouTube channel. Okay. And speaking of which, I haven't done that today because, like I said, I almost passed out there, or just before the show, just before the stream. Where are we? There. Now we get that moved out of the way. We scroll that down, and we go, Shadow, where are you here? And this is the link to Shadow and Son's YouTube channel. Okay. Absolutely, guys. Drop by this. Listen to what he has to say. If you like the figure, if you like figurine work, or the making of figurines, absolutely check in. Watch what he does. He's got a lot of really neat ideas out there. Okay, if you like it, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. Okay, Lord knows I did both. Okay, so there's one, and where'd the other one go? Of course it does that. Let me bring that back up. And of course, Quantum was in here just a minute ago. Nathan from the Quantum Show. And this is his. Okay, and again, some really neat ideas. And as you can tell, Nathan keeps popping in here. Usually while he's on the road. Which begs the question of how he does that. But, what the heck? I'm presuming you've got a voiceover program there, Quantum, Nathan, that you can actually turn around and speak to get type, because I just can't see you typing. I can't see you typing while you're driving. Although, we talk about people. Yep, I realize that. you seem to be working 7 days a week, you know. And I don't recommend that for anybody. Okay. But, you know, when we're looking at it, manifesting, I saw something, anybody my age will get a kick out of this one. I saw somebody about a month and a half ago. You could have never nailed him for texting or for using the phone. Okay. But I honestly, in today's world, never expected to see it. I'm driving down the road, and there's this guy trying to drive down the highway. Okay. And across his whole window is an old physical map. Okay. And I mean the big paper ones. Okay. He's got it across his whole window, and he's driving along, and he pulls down the thing to look over it to be able to look out the front window. Now, this used to be common practice when I was growing up. Although most people didn't put it across their whole front window. Something about wanting to be able to see something out the front end. Okay. But you couldn't have tagged him for using the phone. Okay. But it's just one of those things I'm looking at going, there's a serious problem here. Okay, but when we're talking about manifestation, it boils down to going, what do I desire to accomplish and how am I going to go making it? Gravity works. By the way, my figures of Angelus cannot fly. But they can make pretty good distance. You know, it's amazing. These little guys have wings, but you think they could actually put them to use? I don't know, maybe they're just lazy. You know, but I'm looking at this going, you know, there's got to be a way to help people make things happen. Well, the way you do that is by going, I desire something to happen. See, I think about this guy changing color. And it's a great idea. I can make him change any color I like. Now, in this case, I desire him to change to a flesh tone color. So I take my funny little paintbrush here, put paint on it, and while I am thinking about making him change color, I'm doing the necessary, the necessary handwork. Making sigils in the air, sort of. And doing things, just applying a little bit of practical magic, if you will. Think about what you desire to happen, and then set about making it occur. Okay, this is the way that physical manifestation works. And and I know that Shadow knows how this works because I've seen him do it. He and his son both do this regularly. But when we're talking about manifestation, this is not a question of think about things changing. This is a question of turn around and make it happen. Okay. But it's up to you to do the legwork to make it happen. It is not up to anybody else, nor is it anybody else's blame if you don't do it. And you would be amazed how many people tell me that it's somebody else's fault they haven't succeeded in life. Okay. The reality of it is when you are turning around, when you are desiring to make something happen, get a physical representation of it. And Spooky, my apologies, didn't see you come in. Of course, you'll notice I have my glasses off. That means I can't see that screen at all. Okay. And I can't see close up with my glasses on. So, of course, I end up doing the other side of it and going, okay, I got to take the glasses off so I can actually do this. Which, yeah, you could argue, well, you're on the show. You shouldn't be doing other things. If you talk to the doctors, I shouldn't be breathing right now. So I just don't talk to the doctors. But when you desire something to shift gears, turn around and make it happen. Okay. And that is literally what it boils down to. It's not a question of going, I'd like it to happen, and I'll think about it, and then things will fall into place. I love the people that go, if it's meant to be, then it's meant to me. Okay. And I'll tell you right off the bat, that doesn't work as well as you might think. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've got bottles of this magical stuff. It's great, when you think back when dyeing, and I mean as in DYEing, okay, when it was the biggest way of doing things. When people first started doing that, they figured it was magical. Okay, the sailors that first created cheese thought it was magic. Okay, thought it was great magic, but they thought it was magic. Same as the first people that made ice cream. I'll tell you, that worked out really well for a lot of people, myself included. I ended up with this neat little problem with ice cream. I like ice cream. I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but I can sit and eat a gallon of ice cream without even blinking. Which, by the way, is not necessarily a good idea. But it does happen for me on occasion. On the plus side, I don't eat a lot of other sweets. See, I got a whole pile of these guys. And this is why I was saying about the whole idea of painting. Okay. Is you're working with little things. I will tell you, Shadow, do not make the mistake I did. This is not bad for you. It won't kill you, but I will tell you it's likely to disappoint you. Okay. Years and years and years ago, when I was still a little lad, my cousin swore by this little concoction. And of course, being raised to believe that if you haven't tried something, don't knock it. Okay. I will tell you this is one that you might want to consider not trying. Julie, didn't see you come in. Welcome aboard. Hope your day's been going well. I tried a really neat mix. Bad idea. Ketchup and ice cream. Does not mix well. Don't know about ketchup and sorbet, or what some people call sherbet. But I do know that ketchup and ice cream is a really pathetic mix. Did not work to my taste buds at all. But you're welcome to try it. It's not dangerous. It's not bad for your health. There's no way it'll poison you. It may not impress you, mind you. Just one of those things that I found that really didn't live up to expectations very well. Notice how magic works. This is great. This is called physical manifestation at its finest. And yes, I keep changing figures because I'm only doing like a 1/4 inch on each one of them, which does cut down on the amount of paint that you're actually using. Am I perfect at it? Not even functionally remotely. We can safely say you can see the soles of somebody's feet. That's literally flesh. Very few actual shoes. Very few actual shoes have the definition for the muscles of the foot. But the way I figure it, when it comes to manifesting, you think about what you like, what you desire to accomplish, and then you start moving everything out of the way, redirecting everything that is not working towards that goal. What do we got here? Yeah, no. I'm just looking at this. It used to be people would say, don't eat the yellow snow. Well, I'll tell you, don't eat any snow that is not white. Don't eat it. It's just that easy. Okay. I'm not prejudiced. It's just a question of the only snow I ever will touch is white. Okay. Of course, the sad part is when I was younger, back in the mid 80s, I used the other type of white snow a lot. Actually, I worked it out the other day. I worked it out just yesterday. I worked it out because I calculated out how much I'd gone through. Turns out, now understand, I only paid 2/3 of my alcohol at this time. Okay, which means I paid, and none of my drugs. I spent in the course of a year about $7,000 on alcohol and drugs. Okay, now, like I said, I only paid for 1/3 or for 2/3 of the alcohol. Okay, which meant, in essence, in less than a year, I went through about $11,000 in alcohol that I paid for. Okay, no, I paid for 7,000 street value. If I'd have been buying it outright, I'd have spent about 11 grand on alcohol. I spent 60 grand on street cost for cocaine. Okay, is this something to be proud of? No, but the fact that what I went into it for was to get a total stranger out, managed to do that and get out without an addiction that lasted. Okay, that I am proud of. Sad to say, Spokey, much as I got no problem partying with the idea of partying with you, do understand I am down to 3 shots of alcohol a year now, and I never touch drugs, period. Okay. I've never set foot on a ski hill. I did back when I was a kid. We used to go up to Mount Washington before it became a ski resort. My dad was actually one of the people that cut in what became the resort's ski runs. But I don't do any of that now. Of course, with a collapsed leg, you just don't bother. Oh, running into a wing that I can't see. See, the thing with manifesting is you have to get an idea in your head as to what it is you're aiming to manifest, and then set about getting the energy running in the right way. Okay. So I end up looking at this going, okay, I do desire these different figures to be done. But I did find that looking at them didn't help. It was great. I look at them and went, oh, look, I can see this one having that color, that color of dress or that color of legs. And, I can see this happening, and gee, I wish it would work. But I found if I don't pick up a paintbrush with paint on it, the dang thing doesn't change color. You stare at it long enough and it'll fade out, it'll duplicate itself, you lose track of it, but it won't change color on you much. How many of you out there have thought about really desiring something to happen and just never got around to actually doing any work towards it, and then found out, oh my gosh, if I just actually get off my tail feathers, I can make things happen. Okay, this is the key to manifestation. But you always take a look at what you're aiming for, and you break it down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. By doing that, you'll find you make much better headway. Now, I got a whole bunch of figures up here that are actually changing color for me. I've been thinking about it, and they're doing quite the nice job of shifting gears. Even this guy, we started off, the top of him was white. Okay. Keep doing that without looking. Yeah. YJ's just going, my favorite manager is a 3D printed Mandalorian with Baby Yoda that I had custom made when the series first came out. It's one of the first Mandalorian miniature minis ever to exist. Yeah, you too, Chad? And Chad's just saying, I try really hard to do my laundry, but sometimes it takes a few weeks to get it to manifest, to get motivated. I found a solution, or more to the point, my son found the solution. My 17, well, he was 16 when he did it. He come up to me and he goes, Dad, I'd like to take over doing the laundry. I looked at him and I said, go ahead. He goes, don't you mind, do you mind if I do it? I looked at him and I said, are you kidding me? I don't like doing laundry, but I also hate wearing dirty clothes. And my son goes, and this is like a year and a half ago. He's been doing it, every week since. Sometimes twice, depending on what's been going on. So it really boiled down to, he asked if he could do it, and I went, great, go, be my guest. Needless to say, I don't do laundry much anymore. I'm not sure why I turned around and said, go ahead, I mean, it was such an enjoyable job. So now I spend much more of my time writing or painting or, whatever I please. Sometimes sleeping, but that doesn't happen as much as you might think. Yeah. And YJ's going, a lot of unrealized manifestations are still queued up too. So if a person sets out to cross things off a bucket list, it can all happen pretty fast once you get to it. Absolutely. The one thing I will warn you about is that where it comes to physical manifestation, if you had your heart set on, for instance, owning a Lamborghini by the time you were 23 and you're now 24, okay, frankly, you're not going to have that in that Lamborghini by the time you're 23, but there is nothing stopping you, save yourself and a whole pile of focus, at getting it afterwards, getting it down the road. But that is one of these things that people don't seem to have quite pieced together where it comes to talking about physical manifestation. Get the idea and start eliminating the things that are stopping you or are holding you back from attaining your goals. Now, again, and I've mentioned this multiple times before and will probably do so multiple times after. When you've got a goal in mind of something you desire to accomplish, especially when it comes to drawing somebody to you, the thing you do is you don't work with love spells or love potions or anything like that. You do not do that. You turn on yourself and make yourself more appealing. Okay. And I mean, sometimes it's a simple wardrobe adjustment. Okay. And maybe I'm a bit of a dinosaur. No, I really am a bit of a dinosaur. But when you're looking at striving to draw a partner to you, okay, appearances do matter. They may not matter much to you, but you bank on it mattering to other people. And I'm not talking about just surface changes here. But when you've got a goal in mind, when you have something you desire to accomplish, take everything you desire to accomplish and start putting the effort into making that happen. Okay. It really boils down to looking at it and going, I desire this more than I desire the discomfort of not having it. Now, don't forget, it all boils down to two things. One, the belief that you can make it happen. And that can be a real challenge if everybody around you is telling you you can't. Okay. Fortunately, I just developed a permanent case of teenage hearing, which means when somebody tells me I can't do something, that can't, everything after the can't usually goes out the window. And basically it's like, okay, I'm sorry I didn't miss that. You think about it, back in the 70s, and I think it's still the case. Back in the 70s, the scientists came to the conclusion that a bumblebee, that fine little black and yellow bumblebee, cannot fly. The wing just in the air displacement, the speed of flapping, was not high enough to fly. Somebody else comes out and says, I think somebody forgot to tell the bee. Take that same attitude. If somebody tells you you cannot accomplish something, and I mean something you've got total control over, which means striving to date one of the modern pop stars, there's no problem there. Okay. But don't focus on him or her. Focus on yourself and making yourself more appealing. Okay, be that through wardrobe, be that through attitude, whatever it is. Okay. Julie's just going, the motivation is quite often the hard part. Just scrolling up here to see what I've missed, because the odds are I've missed something. Nope. I seem to be on top of myself. That works out well. Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The real neat part, and I love the fact that things are happening. There we go again. We just got, and I love this. Thank you so much to whoever that was. We just are now we were up a little. We dropped a few subscribers, which happens. We are sitting at 405 now. Only 95 to break the 500. And like I said, I'm aiming, I told you guys this way back at the beginning this year. I'm aiming, hey Pat, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Raven, you managed to get here. Hopefully things are slowed down enough that you can actually get things accomplished today. I know you've been pretty busy as of late, which makes it always fun trying to get anything accomplished. Where did my hand go? Where did my hand go? Boop, boop. I think that was a different song, but what the heck? Yeah, I am not an entertainer, as it were. Okay, rest assured, I am not a singer, so we're just not going to go that direction, because that usually backfires in a big way. I keep telling people, I can carry a tune in a bucket. Of course, I don't tell them I'm going to be singing, because this would be a bad idea. But when you've got something you desire to accomplish, the real trick is to decide, okay, what is it? Totally ignore everybody tells you can and that it's not possible. Totally ignore them. Okay. In most cases, okay, when life and limb are at risk, for pity's sakes, pay attention to people to tell you that's a bad idea. Okay. Because there are times when your mind might say, hey, I can do that. And you'll get carried away with it. And it may work out. Where are we here? That's not bad. In all fairness, Carl, the way I look at it, where it comes to the number of subscribers, okay, and Carl, that begs the question. How come I don't have your website so I can actually pop it on here periodically? Okay. I mean, that's up to you in all fairness. Okay, but we have here. Now, I know I once in a while will see Dave in here, but I end up talking to Dave a lot anyway. But Dave, this is Dave from Spaced Out Radio, which is where I really got pushed by a lot of you guys into actually doing my own stream. This is just one of those things I look at going, this is my way of thanking the people that come in here. And I don't know if I've seen World come in today. I don't think so. But this is World Bigfoots. I've already got BMRs in there, I do believe. Okay. But when we look at it, I do appreciate that, Shadow. I really do. This is one of the ways that I figure I can turn around and say thank you guys for your encouragement. I do appreciate that, Spooky. The reality is this was the last place on the planet I was looking at. Well, not quite. It's the one I'm building towards now that was really not high in my list of ideas. Okay, but it came to my attention the other day that realistically, if I take a look at the number of people that have literally hundreds of thousands of people that listen in and watch their YouTube, and watch them tell you the world's going to end, you're all going to suffer a terrible depleted death. There's shortage of food, there's increase in war, there's shortage of land. I'm telling you, millions of people listen to this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, why? I just can't put it together. So I started out with nobody's going to be bothering listening. It was not a question of about being self-defeatist. Okay. It was a question of I don't buy into this idea that the world is going to end tomorrow. It ain't going to end by the time I end up dying for the last time. It will eventually end. And I mean, all that is when people tell you the world's going to end. I mean, last time I got told, I think was actually about 2 years ago. I got told, oh, the world's going to end in this fiery cataclysm next week. And I'm like, why am I always told in the last minute? Like, why don't people give us a little bit of a heads up? Of course, then I get looking at it and it's like, well, you did. The world is going to end in about several billion years. Okay, when the sun finally gets too big and absorbs it. But am I worried about the world ending? No, I'm pretty much certain I can't do much with that. So I kind of look at it going, why, pray tell, would we sit here and promote everybody dying? How about if we promote the other thing? Let's not look at everybody dying. Although when I was during the Black Death, I made, pardon the pun, but I made an absolute killing as a coroner. I'd go around collecting the bodies. And again, it boiled down to manifestation. Okay. When you desire to accomplish something, get your mindset on it. Now, you'll notice at the beginning of the show, I started with this guy and he was pretty much unpainted. Okay. In this time that I've been here, we've been having this neat little slow transition happening of physical manifestation. As in, amazingly enough, I take this magic brush with this liquid stuff on it, and I get it really close to the plastic, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, magic of magic, it becomes a different color. Now there is physical manifestation at its finest. But the same thing applies to a lot of the three-dimensional stuff that we're talking about. Now, even when we go back several centuries, as in back 50,000 years, okay, when we go back 50,000 years, okay, what we're looking at is a group of people that had the capacity to manifest everything. Didn't matter if it was food, if it was clothing, if it was a vehicle or a house. They had the ability to manifest by sheer thought. And even they got bored with it. See, here's the thing, YJ, and I've been as clear as I could with this. Okay. As long as, because we had somebody do it, and again, I forget who it was. We had somebody do it that literally told because one comment was made. Okay. Somebody piped up and says, quit talking that garbage. I will tell you, as long as you're not promoting war or prejudice or segregation, okay, most of what I see go through the chat room, I will leave alone. Okay. Even if it's cross current and doesn't have to do with whatever we're talking about. Because the only way we're going to make this chat room work is to let you guys have some room to actually think. Okay. If I try and if I try and govern everything, I'm going to be in trouble. Okay. And my only concern with you saying something, with anybody saying something, is that it does not promote overturning a government, overturning a company, killing anybody, and I mean anybody, because the thing I don't desire to happen is for that to affect the room, where YouTube says, you're crossing borders we can't deal with. We're not going to let you do. Okay. That's the biggest thing. Julie's just saying, after growing up with a Jehovah's Witness mom, the world was imminently ending all my life. How'd you just say, if it does, and stop stressing about it? I agree with you. You should have seen the fun I had with a Jehovah's Witness one day. No, not Jehovah's Witness. Them I have a lot of fun with. But I actually laid things out where a very staunch Jewish individual agreed they celebrate Christmas. They don't believe in Christmas, but when I got done with them, they were going, oh my gosh, we actually do celebrate it. We don't call it Christmas, but we celebrate it. Okay. Spooky, the answer to your question is I have been asked before. I have considered it, and here's what I'm waiting for. Okay. The answer is, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. But the thing is, I have to do it through YouTube. I cannot take the chance of putting another program on this particular computer because this poor thing is going to die on me. Okay. Eris, how you doing? Glad you could join us. If I can figure out how to do it on YouTube, or if somebody knows how to bring somebody in on YouTube, I'm very open to it. Okay. That part I just don't know how to deal with at this point. And I don't mind. The thing is, Spooky, when you asked if you've answered, sorry if you've answered this before. Many questions will come up multiple times because it's not always the same people in the chat room or listening in later. So an extra asking the question again is not a bad thing. But if somebody out there knows how to get YouTube to let me bring somebody in, that'd be great. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to do that. That said, any of you, if you look below my video, if you look below any of my videos, there's all kinds of ways of getting a hold of me. Well, I can use both Skype and YouTube. Okay. That said, YJ, I don't know how to link the two. When I said technologically I'm completely crippled, the fact I can get any of them to work is amazing. But if somebody can take the time to explain to me how to do that, because both Skype and YouTube work on my computer, which means I don't have to put a new program in. I just have to figure out how it all links. Yeah, there's a lot of people that use StreamYard, and apparently it's really good. But the problem there is, Spooky, every time I've tried to add a new program, I've jammed my computer for days at a time. Okay, which is why I won't go that route. It's not a question whether the program is a good one. It's a question my computer complains. I appreciate that, Eris. Eris is just saying get a hold of Enzo. And the reality is I have no idea who Enzo is. Not to be picky about it, but I realize it's all set up on the internet. But my concern is putting the link there is what's going to cause the problem. now, some of you have met Frank. Ellie knows Frank all too well. Frank ended up 10 hours on the phone because of me trying to do something like that. Smart move there, YJ. Like I said, as soon as I get a brand new computer, okay, I will certainly look at that because then I will be able to step in and do something. This one is frankly on its last legs. This is why I work with programs that are already on board. Because the other thing this computer is used for is all of these. Now that's the end of an approx. That's the second one. Grabbed the wrong one. That's the first one. Okay. All of my writing is done on the same computer, and I'm not about to jeopardize it. Okay, way too much I've still got to get done. Put those back in the wrong place. Given the amount of work that I've got tied up, it's just one of those things. Yeah, I appreciate that there, Julie. I swear I'm from the Dark Ages. One of these days I am going to remind myself how to use now because that should work a lot better. Although I don't think an abacus will do me any good on the internet. That will make sense, YJ. There's a lot of people that could use that. I cannot be the only one that has trouble with it. And just to put that in perspective, okay, and this is that neat thing where manifestation is a great idea. People keep saying, well, once you just work a little with the computers and it's easy to sort it out. Well, let's be clear. I started working with computers in 1979. Okay. I've been fighting with them ever since and still don't have any functional. Okay, Chad. In a nutshell, I've got to paint this picture sort of. Take a look at the Big Bang Theory. You know what that is. Okay, as far as when this rendition of reality evolved. Now, if you take a look at that Big Bang, that whole starting point of this rendition of reality, as that's the Big Bang. I call what you call the Big Bang, I call a flip. Okay, because of the way I understand it all rebuilds itself. Now, that said, and you're going to love this number. Okay, try and wrap your brain around this one. The current universe is who knows how long. Who knows how many billions of years old this particular universe is. Somebody figured it out. I didn't. Okay, but you take that one thing. Now, I'm just going to wait for now, you follow me that far there, Chad? Okay. I'm just going to wait to get a response out of you on that one before I go any further, because there's not much point in going any further on that one. Julie just said, started working on a computer in the mid-'80s for work. Still an idiot. Yeah, that's the funny thing. None of that works for me. It's really funny. I get confused with the computer and it's in trouble. Okay, perfect. Now, Chad, you take that flip, and here's the earliest memory, the earliest lifetime I consciously remember. Take that one flip. Okay. I remember a lifetime, a billion flips ago. Okay. I remember exactly how the whole thing played out, the whole 9 yards, but you did ask for the earliest. Okay. The earliest one revolving around Earth was as Earth was being built. Okay, so do I remember firsthand this last Big Bang happening? Absolutely. But we are going into why'd you go? I just threw my hands in the air and gave up. I understand that. I got frustrated and the computer died. Yeah. Well, you did ask how far back. And yeah, it is a long time ago. This is why I've got such a, shall we say, different outlook on life than what most people have. Because frankly, my life is, to say the least, a little different. Hey, D-Worm, how are ya? Yeah, quite frankly, I did. And do understand, we're talking our soul. Not a problem there, Julie. We are talking our soul. Okay, but yes, I literally remember being here when the planet itself was first built. Okay, now the neat part about it is that whole story, and you'll love this part. Well, maybe you will. I don't know. When I look at this, okay, this book, okay, these 3 that I'm currently working on, 2 in print, 1 is coming out pretty quick, as soon as we get it finished. Okay, these ones all take place after the story. But in the back of this story, I read it last Sunday. Okay. Time itself is kind of a reference point because the only time you can ever do anything is in the here and now. But in this book, okay, the original story, and if you go back to last Sunday's short broadcast, short vlog, I read the storyline itself that covers the first 8 books. Okay, in this series, I am covering such things as the creation of the planet, the way that soulmates, soul families, twin flames, how all of that comes about. Now, yes, I built it in a story that falls under the classification of science fiction, science fantasy. Okay, but ultimately, yes, Spooky. Here's the funny thing about it. Spooky's just saying the only time that matters is now, and this is why. The past is gone. Whatever the past is, if you picture the palm of your hand as today, okay, this is your past. This is what you've already been through. There is no going back to change something back here. Okay, to alter the reality. You cannot go into the past. You can think about it. It's great for a storyline. Okay, fabulous for the imagination. But in practical reality, it doesn't work. Okay, then we have all of these possibilities as far as future goes. From here, you can pick any one of them. Your call. Okay, but once you get on this one, these other 4 are no longer possible because you can't go back to them. And you'll notice there's no link between them. Okay, so it really boils down to, when we're looking at manifesting, the past you can't go back to, the future hasn't gotten here. Anything you're going to do is manifested right here. Hence, the world is in the palm of your hands. Okay, and that's the way the world's going to come about. That's how you go about manifesting whatever you're aiming for. Okay, and I looked at it for the longest time and I went, I don't want to talk to people. You're talking to somebody right now, well, sort of. A decade ago, I started becoming really, really badly reclusive. Okay, and it probably, now some of you that met me first on Spaced Out Radio must have been working on getting me to do my own broadcast for probably a year or 2 before I did my first one, because the first one I did was on March 6th of 2021. Okay, so I'm just about to hit the 2-year mark. Okay, and aside from, I've had jobs that have lasted longer because my shortest long permanent job, was 6.5 years. So I got a long way to go there. Okay, but it must have taken you guys 2 years to get me to do my first broadcast. Now I'm looking at it going, number one, I enjoy doing them. Okay. Number one, I do enjoy doing them. Number two, I'm no longer I'm still looking at 1,000 subscriptions by the end of this year. Absolutely. But I've since updated my plan. Okay. I am actually pushing to do the unthinkable. Okay. I'm not competing with anybody except me. Okay, and we got to keep that straight. This is not a question of my looking at people going, oh, they've got more subscribers than I do. Because the subscribers don't matter, and don't take that the wrong way. It's not the number. Okay, the only reason I look at it is because apparently, and I don't know this for certain until I hit 1,000 subscribers, but apparently at 1,000 subscribers, they start sending me money. YouTube starts sending me money. And I'll tell you, generating an income has never interested me in the past. Okay. It really hasn't. But I do know that I should have paid more attention to it. And this is one of the reasons why one of the books I'm in the middle of writing is How to Make Money, and More. Because the reality of it is this. There's a lot of phenomenal writers out there that are very good at putting things out. There's lots of ways of making money once you have $40,000 to $50,000 in your pocket. $40,000 to $50,000 spare change. Now you can make money. I'll tell you, the people that need to know how to make money work are the ones that don't have it. Carl's just saying, I remember walking into my cube one day in 1983, and there sitting on my desk was an IBM PC with 2 8-inch floppy disks, something like a 64K hard drive and no instruction book. I hadn't a clue. That sounds like the 8088. I had one of those too for the longest time. I just happen to have an advantage. My brother spoke computerese. Yeah, I don't know what the limit is there, but when he's talking, and what he's talking about, that Julie, is we really did have computers. Like the first one I had, the first one of my own I had was a TSR 80 that was cassette tape driven. You popped a cassette tape into it, and you fired it up. That was how you got the computer to even start. Okay, the first internet uplink, the first modem uplink that a buddy of mine had was you picked up the phone, set it on the cradle, and dialed. We are talking about going back to the dark ages of computer programming, unless we talk about the abacus. And by the way, I don't think you can plug an abacus into a modern computer. But again, technology has its purpose. I'm not against technology. I just happen to get frustrated with it. And when I get frustrated with it, it suffers terrible pains. I remember going through an airport one day. I got really panicky because I don't travel well. So I got really panicky and I froze their entire custom system. Okay, not a big airport, only two custom lines, but I froze their entire computer system where they couldn't move anybody. What am I supposed to do with that? I've had people with hardwired computers. Really, obviously, customs today is all hardwired. I did it into a bank. I got agitated with the bank teller and I froze everything on the main floor. Okay, thank God they don't want me wearing a pacemaker. I get stressed, the pacemaker electrocutes me. This is going to be fun. I think that's called retaliation. Yeah, and that's now the funny thing there's Spooky, like you're talking about having monetized. Now, Dave helped me set up, and as a matter of fact, come to think of it, I got to phone him. Helped me set up buying this fine little program called Buy You a Coffee. He got it set up, only I've never seen it manifest, and I don't know why. Okay, but I gotta get that sorted out because the reality is, if I don't get finances turned around pretty quick, okay, I run into a problem. Now, with that in mind, I now have on Facebook on Facebook Marketplace, I've now got the Birth of the Wolf Pack and Mr. Dreamcatcher that are already installed, and I'll be adding others as I go along. Plus, of course, my website. Because ultimately, that's where I'm hoping that my income comes from to start with. Let's face it, I've got 7 books in print, and I'm working on 31 others right now. And now I've lost the sheet that I actually worked all that out on, but what the heck. But when we're talking about manifesting, it boils down to deciding, that's always nice. I've got the program already installed, but I gotta get back in touch with Dave because he's the one that helped me set it up, and he already said he will. I just haven't made the phone call to him. So I think what I should do while I'm thinking about it, usually I do, but I usually get myself confused. So why don't we do the intelligent thing here? Get this out of the way. We go down here, and here we are. On my little list of things to do, we put call Dave. Of course, I'm going to put call Dave with a pen that has just quit working. That's always a fun thing. Wonder if that'll help. Nope, not much. Pen's dead. Over there. The funny thing about it, and I appreciate that, Spooky. So I'm just making a note for myself after I replace one pen because that one's garbage. Try that again. And now we've got a pen that works. I got carried away at one point, and I tell you, I kid you not, I've got literally almost 100 pencils and probably 50 pens sitting here. So these are, well, this guy's coming along nicely. I'm just waiting for him to dry a bit. Had to get rid of those guys can go in here now. See, I'll tell you, I found these little tins. These ones I get when I buy fresh mushrooms. And they're a perfect size for sorting out figures. So I can figure out what I'm working with. But, now why did I have that? Oh, that's my black. The reality, and again, this boils down to if you desire to manifest something, really take a look at it and decide what it is you're aiming for. Oh, remember I said I misplaced a piece on a sheet of paper? We have 10, 11, 22, 24. 2, 11, 10, 11, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30. This neat little short list is 30 books I'm currently in the middle of writing. Okay. And literally, I've got stuff written on all of them. Yeah, but I haven't found the ones I'm looking for. I know what you're referring to there, Spooky. I haven't actually gone looking for them too much yet. Can't see that. Where are we here? That's excellent, Spooky. Yeah, that's why I've got to figure out how to get it. And no, Adam, I haven't found the horse figures, but in all honesty, I've been having a little bit of trouble with spare time. But it is something that's on my list of things I've got to go track down. I did look for a few, but I'm looking for, ultimately, I'm going to be looking for, show you the size I'm looking for. Give me 5 seconds. Yes, it means I have to leave the room. Right back. Now, do understand, I did not paint this one at all. Okay. But that's about the size horses I'm looking for. Now, needless to say, this ain't a horse. I also didn't paint this one. Okay. I do have another dinosaur I am painting. But that isn't it. But that's the size I'm looking for. You know, fortunately, it doesn't take me long to walk. My house isn't that well. My house is, my apartment. I love it. 1,000 square feet of living space. Okay, 3 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms. One of which is set up for my office right now. And no yard work, no stairs, and the going rate for a 3-bedroom in this city is $1,500 to $1,600. I'm paying $1,000. Okay, so I'm not going to complain too much. But yeah, I definitely have to buy me a coffee up and running, because quite frankly, every little bit will help. Especially with the fact that EI decided it was going to be kind enough and tell me I couldn't have any. Because they said I only worked 35 hours last year. And they were supposed to contact me after the 17th. Didn't really go that far. I definitely have to get a hold of them, but I'll have to do that on Monday. Unless Monday is another stat. Okay. Adam says, my wife just says that lammies might have horses that size that you can paint over. Oh, great. It's on the other side of the world. Sad to say, if I don't have somebody going with me, I'm not driving that far. Like, I don't leave, obviously, the area. Okay. I live up in Rutland. Okay. On the other side of the bridge. And I don't even go into the downtown core. Never mind over the bridge anymore. Okay. Quite frankly, in downtown Kelowna. Now, understand, I've lived in Kelowna for 40 years now, roughly. And last year, I got lost 6 times in the downtown core. After 40 years in the same place. Absolutely, Shadow. You have a good show. Yeah, I'm really glad you managed to join us. Yeah, I'm just reading this. Adam goes, I used to deliver to GC Glass just up the road from the model depot in West Kelowna. I do my best not to leave the area. I figure I'm doing really good when I'm doing really good when I get out of my house. I've been known, like I said, I'm getting to be a rather extreme recluse. This is sort of where I do my socializing. Except I've got a couple of gamers that come over. But no, the reality of it all is this. I know there's got to be stuff out there, But I will do my best there to take a look at it to see if I can find out where this Lemmy's is, because I'm looking for very specific images that I'm going to require. Not a problem there, Adam. I've had people go, well, would you join me for coffee? I'm like, yeah, at one restaurant in Kelowna. What's a bottle depot? Carl, a bottle depot is where you can take all of your empties to one location and get paid money to turn them in. Okay, doesn't matter what the bottle. Pop, alcohol, in my case, milk. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us there, Julie. I will be back again. I try and get on every week, every day, and from 4:30 for a couple hours, except Thursday. And Thursday I'm just not doing. That's my gaming day. Well, Sunday is too, but my stream comes in after that. But no, I've got to really figure out how some things shift around here. But I've got to deal with Dave. I've got to look into the horses and what have you. What have we got? There we are. But no, when we're talking, and again, this is what boils down to when I talked about physical manifestation, the one thing I found really, really nice. To be honest there, well. Oh. The reality is there, Spooky, that I don't see a link, so I don't know where you sent it. I mean, I appreciate you sending it, but the reality is I got no way of answering the question just yet. I appreciate that. I will have to talk to Dave and figure out how that is. I know we set it up somewhere, but I've got absolutely zero recollection of where or what. So I'm really working blind here. But I do appreciate the effort. Don't get me wrong on that. The sad reality of it is when I talk about being backwards on this one, I couldn't be much more accurate. At least not as far as I'm aware. Whoop, forgot to grab what I need. Oh, well, I do appreciate that, Spooky. I just have no idea where it is. Nor for that matter do I have any idea how you found it. Which might give you an idea of how well things work. Now, the sad part is I can take a look at a person and go, here's what drives them. Here's what's coming up. I look at a computer and I go, and that's pretty much where it comes to a grinding halt. I just need one of these funny things I keep over here. Sad to say for me, it's not a question, where are we? Oh. Well, that's a new one. So all I gotta do there, theoretically, of course, this could screw things up for me. I mean, a coffee. Oh. Now, I already have it, but I wonder if this does it. Well, that was interesting. I hit the wrong thing, apparently. No, I don't want to start my page, thank you. I was just looking for the dang thing. Yeah, I have no idea how all that works, and trying to do that is just not working well for me. Thank you so much, Sir Spooky. Email I can work, oddly enough. But no, the reality of it is where it comes to the issue from my end. Now, the nice part there, Spooky, is once I get done this stream, which holy mackerel, are we really that far? And we are. Holy mackerel, I didn't realize we'd gone by that quick. Talk about a fast 2 hours. And you'll notice my throat didn't seize this time. But with that in mind, I will go and take a look at that. But now that you've sent the email there, I will let you know as soon as I know what I'm dealing with. Okay. But that said, thank you so much for your help on that. For those of you that haven't done so already, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. That would be appreciated. Absolutely subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it if you would be so kind to do so. That would be appreciated. Okay. But we are hitting the 2 hour mark, and I know you guys have things to do. I know I've got things to do. Much more importantly, I have a tendency of talking way too long on occasion. But because I do try and keep this to a stable line, and I forgot to, tomorrow's Sunday. That's why I don't have to worry about it. Because tomorrow, when I come on at 4:30, tomorrow is an open topic. Okay, bring your questions, whatever they are. I'll be very happy to do my best to answer them. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.